Hey everyone, today we're gonna make some vegan Mexican inspired recipes, and this is a really fun kind of autumn version because it's got a comfort food twist. We're gonna make some hearty vegan breakfast tacos, a really delicious green chili that is perfect for meal prep, and a fun dessert that you can make for a Halloween movie night. It's a little bit different, but I know you guys are gonna love it. Thank you to Mi Rancho for teaming up with me, and let's get started. First up, we're gonna make a tempeh and quinoa chili, and this is gonna be a salsa verde chili. So it's kind of a green chili, which I think is a nice spin on classic chili. It's hearty, it's filling, and it's perfect for meal prep. So I'm gonna start by crisping up the tempeh, and I like to do this just by warming up my pan with a little olive oil, and then I will break the tempeh into large pieces. And I do them a little bit larger than bite size, just because that way when you kind of stir the soup together, they'll get a little bit smaller, but they won't totally disappear. And it's nice to have big, hearty chunks of the crispy tempeh all throughout the soup. I'm gonna season it up with some chili powder and some salt and pepper, and I'll stir this just to coat the tempeh in the spices, but I'm not gonna move it around too much because I wanna give the tempeh an opportunity to really brown and caramelize and get kind of crispy around the edges like this. Then I'll transfer it to a pan, and it's time to sweat the veggies. When sweating the vegetables, you're not looking to add any color. We're not caramelizing or browning the onions. We're just kind of slowly drawing out the moisture, which is going to intensify and concentrate the flavor, and this creates a really flavorful base for the soup. After a few minutes, I'll add some garlic, and I love this garlic crusher thing. It's so efficient, so much easier than chopping it by hand. I'll add some more chili powder, some oregano, and a little bit more black pepper, and I'm gonna stir this all together, and at this point, it already smells incredible. If you saw my Italian ribollita soup recipe, then you'll remember this trick, but it's a great way to add some body to the broth. So I'm just gonna scoop out some of the black beans and mash them into a creamy paste. And this is going to thicken the broth slightly and just give it a really nice texture. Then I'm gonna add that to the pot along with the remaining beans and some corn and the secret ingredient, which is Mi Rancho Salsa Verde. This is great because it has the tomatillos, the seasonings, and some of the herbs already chopped up and ready to go. So it's a really quick way to add instant flavor to the soup. I'll add that in with the cooked tempeh from earlier and some vegan veggie broth. I really like using this vegan chicken broth whenever I make my soups. It has great flavor, so I'm gonna add that broth to the pot along with some quinoa, and you may notice there's some very hearty ingredients going into this veggie soup. We've got the tempeh, we've got quinoa, we've got black beans, so it's a really filling, hearty, balanced soup that has protein, fiber, loads of vitamins and minerals, and it's just packed with flavor from that salsa verde. I'm gonna go ahead and let this simmer, and as it simmers, it's slowly just gonna become more and more flavorful. And then the fun part, the toppings. So like any kind of chili, it's really fun to customize the toppings, and so I love to do a mix of crunchy tortilla chips on top. It's almost like the croutons, so I just break those and crumble them right on top of the soup. I love to add a squeeze of fresh lime juice. Sometimes I'll do some vegan cheese or sour cream, fresh cilantro, and I love serving extra tortilla chips on the side for dipping because you can kind of use those to scoop the soup, and it's so flavorful. This is a great meal prep recipe because it gets even better the next day, so make sure you add it to your list because it is one of my favorites. All of the salsas, tortillas, and tortilla chips you see me using in this video are from Mi Rancho, and Mi Rancho makes organic, vegan-friendly salsas, and they've been a family-owned business for over 80 years. They started back in 1939 with a small Mexican grocery store in Oakland, California, and slowly but surely they kind of expanded to grow into making salsas and tortilla chips and selling them to the local restaurants and businesses around town. And now they're widely available, but you can shop them online for convenience, so I'll put the link in the description box below, and you can also use the code for 20% off. Absolutely love that they make vegan friendly and organic products. If you want to learn more about them, check out that link, and let's move on to the next recipe. Up next, we're gonna make some vegan-friendly breakfast sliders. These are like breakfast tacos, but they're on mini sliders, and they're perfect for a fun weekend brunch or even for dinner. I love having these for dinner too. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start with some vegan bacon. You can use any kind of vegan bacon you like, but I really like using this tempeh bacon. It's nice and smoky. I'm also going to basically just sort of soften and crisp up a whole jalapeno. So I'm gonna do that all in the same pan for efficiency, and I like to get this really nice and crispy in a cast iron pan. Then I'm gonna set that aside and get started on my vegan eggs. I'm gonna use Just Egg for this recipe, but you can use a tofu scramble recipe if you prefer. I will put some of my favorite tofu scramble recipes in the description box below, but I love Just Egg and I love how fluffy it gets. And I think it's almost indistinguishable from regular chicken's eggs. It has such a nice texture. It scrambles up just the exact same way, and it has the same macros as well. So it's got a good amount of protein. So these are gonna be really nice and hearty tacos. Then it's time to warm up the tortillas. I'm using these organic corn tortillas from Mi Rancho, and I love that they're the taco sliders style, so they're nice and small. You can do singles or double for these tacos, and I'm just gonna warm them up in the same pan that I used to crisp up the bacon. First of all, saves having to wash another pan, and second of all, you get a little bit of that crispy bacony flavor on the tortilla. To assemble these breakfast tacos, I'm going to start by cutting the bacon in half, and I'll put that right in the center along with our vegan scrambled eggs. I just season the eggs with some salt and pepper, but you can add a little bit of salsa to the eggs when you're scrambling them as well. That's really good and something I love to do with tofu scramble. Then I'm going to do a dollop of vegan sour cream. This is actually almond milk yogurt, which I use as a sour cream replacement a lot. And then I really like to sprinkle on some black beans, and this is a great way to use up extra beans if you used some black beans for dinner the night before and you still have, I always have like a random half cup of black beans or some sort of bean that needs to get used up in the fridge. Breakfast tacos the next day is a great way to use that up. Then I'm going to add some salsa, and any salsa you like is going to work really well. I love salsa verde on these breakfast tacos, but on this day I went for the classic Rioja, and I love this flavor combination. Top it with some fresh cilantro and enjoy. Now, I don't like my breakfast tacos to be too spicy, so this was my plate. Love lots of fresh lime on top though, but if you like a little bit of spice, that jalapeno that we browned with the tempeh bacon earlier is really good to just kind of slice up on top. It tenderizes a little bit as it cooks, and it adds a pretty pop of color as well. Like all the recipes you see in this video, the full measurements are in the description box below, and you can feel free to really customize this to your liking. You can add hot sauce, you can add your favorite taco toppings here. They're really versatile and kind of a staple in my kitchen. I love making breakfast tacos, and this is my favorite combination at the moment. This next recipe is inspired by one of my favorite vegan Halloween desserts, which is caramel apples, or those caramel apple lollipops I used to love when I was a kid. This is vegan caramel apple nachos, so it's a little bit different. It's a fun thing to share with friends. If you're doing a Halloween party or Halloween movie night, this is a big crowd pleaser. We're gonna make some cinnamon sugar tortilla chips, top it with warm, gooey caramel apples, vegan ice cream, and a drizzle of homemade caramel sauce. It tastes like a caramel apple, but even more fun to eat because it's nachos. The first step is to make some cinnamon sugar tortilla chips, and we're just gonna do this in the regular oven. We don't have to deep fry anything, and you can even use the air fryer. So I'm just gonna start with some Mi Rancho tortillas and cut these into triangles. Usually I cut them in half, then in quarters, and then into eighths, and that makes these really nice tortilla chip shapes. And I'm gonna lay this out onto a cookie sheet. I like to use a nonstick liner just because it makes cleanup super easy and quick. I'll link the one that I use in the description box below. Instead of deep frying, I'm just going to dab on a little bit of melted vegan butter. This is going to add flavor, and it's also going to help the cinnamon sugar stick on top. For the cinnamon sugar, I just mixed together some cane sugar and some ground cinnamon, and I whisked that together with a fork. Then I'm going to sprinkle this generously over every chip, and I usually kind of do 2 rounds. I do like an initial sprinkle, and then I go through and I try to get every little bit of the chip, because honestly, the cinnamon sugar is the best part. These are going to go into the oven, and they're going to crisp up considerably in the oven, but they really finish getting crispy and crunchy as they cool. So before that happens, I like to sprinkle on some kosher salt. Kosher salt is my go-to salt that I use in the kitchen, and I like it especially for stuff like this because it has a nice kind of coarse, chunky consistency, so it adds a really nice pop of flavor against that sweet cinnamon sugar. As you can see, it creates a really beautiful coating, and this is going to be the base layer of our nachos. Now, I'm going to use some Granny Smith apples, and I find that these are really perfect for this recipe because they're nice and tart. I peel and dice them into small pieces, and then I add some lemon, some cinnamon, allspice, ground ginger, and cloves, and this is such a good combination. It instantly smells like fall when you do this. Stir it all together with a little bit of sugar and pop this into the oven. This is going to become basically like the inside of apple pie. And then to assemble, I bust out the Halloween plates. Gotta do that this time of year. I'll sprinkle on some of the chips. I'll add the warm cinnamony apples that get really nice and soft and gooey in the oven. Then I'm gonna top this with some vegan vanilla ice cream and vegan caramel sauce, which I put the recipe for my vegan caramel sauce in the description box below. Caramel apple nachos. It's a must around this time of year. It really reminds me of Halloween and those lollipops that you get, those caramel apple lollipops. And it's kind of a fun, unique dessert that you have a lot of different textures going on with the crunchy chips and the baked apples and the cold ice cream with that gooey caramel sauce. Such a crowd pleaser. I know you guys are gonna love this one. If you want to see some more Mexican inspired recipes, I'll put my recipe for 7-layer dip, my potato taquitos, or my easy breakfast quesadillas in the description box below. That's also where you'll find the link to all of these recipes that you saw in this video and the link to try Mi Rancho with that code for 20% off. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.